Welcome to another episode in our Japan series. In this video, we will discuss many incredible inventions that you probably didn't know were created by the Japanese. So without further ado, let's start the video.
Nihongo! Wakarimasu! Nihongo! Ikimasu!
Ikimasu.
Let's talk about modern dry cells, which most of you probably know as the everyday batteries that are commonly used in portable devices, calculators, clocks, and transistors. These are a single-use, non-rechargeable battery with an output voltage of 1.5. On January 13, 1864, Sakizō was born to the house of an upper-class samurai family in Nagaoka, a city in the Niigata prefecture. Unfortunately, when Sakizō was 6, his father died and the house went bankrupt. In 1885, at the age of 21, Sakizō invented a continuous electric clock, and just 2 years later in 1887, he invented a dry cell battery for that clock. He used a paste electrolyte with enough moisture to allow for current to flow by converting chemical energy into electricity. However, he tragically could not apply for his patent because he had no money to pay for the patent fee. In 1927, he suffered from gastric cancer and acute pneumonia and left this world on June 1, 1927. I'm sure it's hard to imagine a functioning world without modern calculators. However, humanity has been using various types of calculators since ancient times. A few examples of these ancient calculators are the Sumerian abacus, the Roman abacus, the Chinese Suanpan abacus, the Antikythera, and the Russian abacus. While these were certainly useful for their time, we're going to focus on the modern pocket calculator, a contribution of Japan. In 1957, the Model 14A calculator was released by the Japanese company Casio. It was the world's first compact calculator and was based on relay technology. However, it was still bulky and had to be built into a desk as a result of its weight of 120 kilograms or 264 pounds. In 1964, the world saw the first all-transistor electronic calculator, the CS-10A, which was designed by another Japanese company, Sharp Corporation. Fortunately, this model weighed 25 kilograms or 55 pounds, which was 5 times lighter than the Casio 14A calculator. While the size had been improved, the price was too high, around 500,000 yen or $4,586.
As much as a car. Still, 700 calculators were sold in 6 months.
Why, Dada, why?
This is business. I know, but I did business.
Shut up!
It wasn't until a later innovation that electronic calculators became more accessible. In 1970, the first 3 portable calculators appeared in Japan, and they were soon marketed around the world. Those models were Sanyo ICC0081 Mini Calculator, weighted at 1 kilogram, the Canon Pockettronic, weighing in at 902 grams, and Sharp QT8B Micro Compact, weighed 1.4 kilograms.
It became an icon of made-in-Japan know-how, including miniaturization and cost reduction.
When you think about video games, it's likely one of the first things that comes to mind is the PlayStation. However, it took time for the PlayStation to become the mega console we all know and love today. It all began in 1994. After so many attempts to enter into the video game market, including unsuccessful partnerships with both Nintendo and Sega, Sony finally decided to go at it alone and release their first original PlayStation home console. The PS1, as it came to be known, was a massive hit. It became the first legendary home console in history that sold more than 100 million units. But why was it so successful? Before 1994, most video games were based on 2D graphics, which were widely accepted among gamers. But Sony's new console was capable of playing 3D games, and with the release of more 3D titles, Sony had dethroned Nintendo as the king of the home consoles. By the end of the PS1's life, 1,300 games had been exclusively produced for this home console. Despite the popularity of the console, a majority of us probably don't know that PlayStation was the brainchild of Ken Kutaragi, a Sony executive who managed one of the company's hardware engineering divisions. He is also known as the father of the PlayStation because of his work with not only the original PlayStation, but also development of the successor models, the PS2 and PS3. Today's consoles are a product of a lot of development that has occurred in the video game industry. Yet even today, we can see that many of the most advanced games are exclusively built for modern PlayStation devices. Just a few of these mind-blowing games released as PlayStation exclusives include Bloodborne, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End,
You good? Great. Floor it. How do we get the sail? We just keep heading downhill. Brilliant.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Even if you do catch what you're after, how do you know it won't bite back?
Shadow of the Colossus, The Last of Us Part 2,
You have no idea what you're walking into.
What are you doing?
You don't know how large that group is.
Marvel's Spider-Man,
You don't need to kill us too.
Fisk's territory is ours now.
Not today.
and God of War.
Who's dead?
Well, for a dead man, Odin seemed pretty keen on seeing he wasn't found.
If he's out there, we gotta find him.
You've probably heard the popular 1789 French phrase purportedly uttered by Marie Antoinette: "If they have no bread, let them eat cake." Unfortunately for Marie Antoinette, the average citizen did not find that advice helpful, and soon after, the royal family was dethroned following a bread shortage. For centuries, bread has been an important staple to many cultures. Bread has even been traced back to the Neolithic era. Today, 125 million tons of bread are consumed at an incredible cost of $220 billion each year. But who made the creation of bread at this scale possible? This is the story of Ikuko Tanaka, a Japanese software engineer who invented the first bread-making machine at Matsushita Panasonic in 1986. A decade later, the Breadmaker gained enormous popularity in the West. Before the invention of the Breadmaker, she had joined the Osaka International Hotel in order to learn everything about making bread by hand from the best chef baker in Osaka. She discovered mechanical solutions to stretching and twisting the dough in a particular fashion at 27 to 28 degrees centigrade. To bake this machine-made bread, she used a purpose-built oven, which turned out to be the secret for making tasty bread. I'll bet this makes you wish you had some bread right now, right? Before the invention of electric rice cookers, Japanese women suffered while cooking rice on clay stoves, which required at least 3 hours to cook. Today, I have an electric rice cooker at home, which I can say with absolute certainty is a lot easier than cooking rice on the stove. With a modern electric cooker, you just put the rice and water in and walk away until it's cooked. Indeed, it is arguably one of the greatest products of the 20th century, but the question is, who invented it first? This is a story that takes place between 1951 and 1955. when Toshiba salesman Yamada surveyed Japanese married women in Japan about the process of cooking rice. He identified a lot of problems when it came to cooking rice. In response to his findings, Yoshitada Minami, who was a Toshiba engineer, came up with a series of prototypes for electric rice cookers. In 1956, Toshiba's electric rice cooker hit the Japanese home appliance market. In 1970 alone, around 12,350,000 electric cookers were sold. That was a huge number.
Minami's prototype was tested by his wife, Fumiko. She battled away cooking rice all day long, and after he finished each prototype, Fumiko would use it to cook rice up on the roof, under the eaves, and in various other conditions.
The early designs were based on a pot sitting atop a pot filled with water, below which was the heat source. The heat source had a switch that could turn off when temperature exceeded 100 degrees Celsius. The resulting circulating steam could cook rice evenly. Today, there are tens of thousands of recipes that an electric rice cooker can cook, including soup, eggs, pasta, cakes, caramel, yogurt, and tofu.
The hard work of husband and wife had paid off. The appliance succeeded in greatly reducing the housework burden for Japanese women.
Imagine what would happen if fiber optics technology suddenly disappeared. Indeed, the world would be in total chaos. No one would be able to use telephones. The internet would be more or less shut down too, including this YouTube video. Nobody would be able to make audio and video calls, and watching TV from home would be impossible for most households. But who invented these fiber cables? The name of this forgotten Japanese scientist is Jun-ichi Nishizawa, who did his studies at Tohoku University. He came up with the idea to use light to transfer data inside a cylindrical fiber in 1963. He also invented the pin diode and static inductor transistor, along with optic fiber to transmit data from one place to another by sending pulses of infrared light. Fiber optics rapidly gained popularity after their discovery because, compared to copper wires, they could deliver data with higher bandwidth over a long distance without facing electromagnetic interference. These fiber cables use dough pans to reflect light inside the cylindrical body and push it to the other end. In 1975, after the discovery of GaAs semiconductor lasers, these optics could only transmit data at a wavelength around 0.8 micrometers, with a data transfer speed of 5.6 megabytes per second. However, today, a single fiber optic cable can transmit data at a speed of 1.7 terabytes per second over a distance of up to 160 kilometers. I'm sure such powerful cables were completely beyond the imagination of even Alexander Graham Bell. Finally, let's talk about D-pads, also known as directional pads. D-pads are used in so many game controllers, remote control units for TVs, even on smartphones too. It was a pretty simple concept, but it completely transformed the future of the electronics market. Before its invention, classic joysticks were commonly used in bulky gaming machines. But what is the story of D-pad? The history of the D-pad begins in 1982, when Nintendo was developing its Donkey Kong Game & Watch handheld device. In earlier Game & Watch devices, the games moved only on a single axis, with two buttons just for left and right. But the new Donkey Kong game simultaneously introduced two axes, X and Y. A well-known Nintendo engineer, Gunpei Yokoi, was the brain behind Game & Watch handheld. Realized that the use of traditional joysticks to play the new Donkey Kong would be uncomfortable to use, as well as aesthetically bulky and ugly. To avoid using the traditional joystick, he invented a plus-shaped button that was designed to behave like a seesaw. The plus-shaped button was mounted on a metal ball in the center, allowing it to be pushed down on all four sides. Thus, the D-pad was born, which allowed for natural movements for left, right, up, and down keys. The surprising fact is that Nintendo didn't even realize the importance of the D-pad until after it hit the market, and initially the inventor didn't file a patent for it. But thanks to his fellow employee named Ishiro Shirai, Nintendo did eventually file a patent for the D-pad on August 5, 1983. The patent lasted until 2005, after which it entered the public domain and became a key feature on almost every gaming controller.